Sorry, I'm just trying Jay again here. See if he's nope. Answering machine still. Yeah. Well, welcome back to Lord of War. I'm Chris. Another solo video today. And I've got my trusty zero sugar, zero caffeine, zero pleasure drink here to get me through. And today I want to dive into sort of a controversial topic. This has been something that I know a lot of people over the years have had very strong opinions about. I hear about it a lot as an independent now, but I used to run a couple different Games Workshop stores. And it's something that used to have some serious opinions about. But it's the idea that why do these Games Workshop staffers basically harass me? Why do they keep talking to me? Why are they up in my face when I'm in the shop? That sort of thing. And obviously, depending on who you are and how social you are, or how what your experience is like, and blah blah blah, you might have sort of a different take on that, right? And I just want to get ahead of the hate storm here for those of you who actually even watch before you make a comment. That obviously I'm speaking in general terms here. I'm not speaking about your individual experience, because how could I know what your individual experience was like? And I can't defend or speak for all of the people that have worked for Games Workshop. I met a lot of wonderful people there. Lots of them are still my friends. But there were also a lot of idiots as well that worked there. So I'm not going to sit here and defend them all. But I think the first kind of thing to talk about. Do I have to do this for this part? Because this is where it gets. Read this first point here. Why do the staff keep talking to me? Well, first of all, it's their job. On a real basic level, Games Workshop has a customer service philosophy. For those of you who don't know, and that haven't worked for the company or known someone that worked there. And it is essentially a requirement for staff to engage with the customers that come in through the door. And there's a lot of training and sort of dogma and sort of things, sales techniques, whatever you want to dress it up as and call it, around making those conversations not only, friendly and positive, but also productive, right? And productive would mean that it actually leads to something, right? So you're not supposed to just talk about the weather for 10 minutes. You're supposed to talk about toys, the hobby, trying to figure out what the particular person is interested in and what they're excited about, and you're there to sort of facilitate their experience, right? So it's not as maybe based on that answer, you might be like, oh, it is as evil as I thought it was, or maybe it's as okay, yeah, I get it. It is what it is, right? And it's worth remembering, and maybe there's lots of you that watch this channel or watch content online about Games Workshop and sort of the retail comings and goings. And obviously there's a ton of negativity online. Always. It's kind of how it goes. I'm probably going to throw some silly clickbait thing on this anyways, so I'm not part of the solution here. But it's worth remembering that this company got to this point for very intentionally, right? And what I mean by that is we always used to call the Moneyball principle of doing kind of business or retail, where Games Workshop was always aware, especially in the early days, and to some extent they still are, despite their size and their growth, that they were once this plucky underdog. I think about discovering them in a major mall that had hundreds and hundreds of stores, and this little miniature shop is stuffed into the corner, and just how insane it was to think that could even work. A store that only sold miniatures and paints. It was never going to work if the staff were going to basically just be clothing store retailers, right? Where they just put the stuff on the shelf, let you come in, browse, and walk out. it was never going to work. It was never going to work, right? And the main thing and reason is because people don't know what the hell they're looking at, right? People come in, and this is coming from my own experience. Obviously, it still happens today. It happens less because there's a bit more knowledge and people do know this stuff a bit better. But in the 90s or 2000s or whatever, people come into the shop wide-eyed and they're like, what the heck am I looking at here, right? And some of those like wide-eyed was like, what the hell is this? I don't want anything to do with this. But they're just more still like morbidly curious. Whereas there was like the, you're like basically looking for those few people, and we're talking like maybe 1 out of every 50 or 100 or whatever, like small percentages, right? That have the other, like they have that twinkle in their eye. They're like, whoa, it's like, what is this, right? And there's that genuine sort of like, I want to know more. And that's why you engage everybody, right? That's why you give them a friendly greeting, try to learn their name and share your name, so there's some personal connection there. And it's why in a Games Workshop store, so like Warhammer store now, you're trying to get them to try and experience what you're selling, right? Because like I said before, you can be mad about this, but they are acting like no one knows what the hell this stuff is, and it's their job to show people and explain to them. So they're trying to figure out if you know what you're looking at or what you're doing, and then if you don't, engage with you. Hey, would you like to try it? Would you like to roll some dice and see what this is all about? Paint a model, whatever, and just like basically give you the rundown in about 10 minutes or so. And so that, I think that's an important contextual fact that like people forget, that GW's always had this like, we're small, we have to be plucky, we're spending a ton of money on these like businesses that pay huge rents on high streets, and maybe not in the malls so much anymore, but like the high streets, they're still in a few malls. Rent is crazy, right? So like, why do we have these shops? We have these shops mainly to get the word out there, right? To introduce people to the world of Warhammer. And you can't do that without talking to people. You just can't, right? There's just no way. Now you might say, well, Chris, I've been doing this for years. Like, why do they still try to talk to me and whatever when I go in? And it's because they don't have a scanner for your brain. They don't know that, right? They don't know that you know all the things that you know, and they don't know your history, right? So how could they figure that out? You could just open up a little bit to them and talk to them and be polite and share, just answer their questions, and then you get to a place where they're like, oh, this person has been collecting for a while. I can help. I'll try to figure out ways to help them, and if they say no, then no harm, no foul, right? And I think that's the thing that people bump into a lot, where they go in with that like, oh man, he's gonna talk to me or whatever, or they're gonna talk to me. And I think sometimes I think people are maybe, well, hold on, they're maybe like leaning into it a little bit, like where they almost like, I've met these people, they go in because they want to like almost stir up something. They're like, I'm gonna get that corporate guy, and I'm gonna give him tough answers, and I'm not gonna answer any of his questions, and like I'm gonna be annoyed, and he's gonna be annoyed, and like it's like, what what are you doing? Like, I don't understand that. Like, if you just answer the guys their questions, like I feel like it's just a smooth experience for everybody. You can get to the point. Isn't it about getting to the point where you're gonna be able to shop how you want to shop, right? Which is just like, hey man, like you could even say politely, like, I've been doing this hobby for blah blah blah. I collect these armies. I really just want to come in and check out what you guys have, and I'll ask you if I have any questions or whatever. And 90% of the GW staff members out there would be like, that's wicked, dude. Cool. They might check in on you after a minute or two or whatever, just to make sure that you don't have any follow-up questions, right? Or maybe they might ask a good question. And I think that gets to my next point, is that I know a lot of people don't want to admit this, but I still think customer service matters. Maybe now more than ever. And that's just, in my opinion, like how we deal with our business on a day-to-day basis. I try to talk to everybody that comes in. I would actually see it as a huge, like, I don't remember the last time someone came in, I didn't say anything to them and they left. Like that would have to be like I'd have to be really busy and they'd have to be in the store for 3 seconds. Like I am very much like, hey, what's going on? Like I'll yell across the store if I have to. I want people to feel seen, right? I want them to feel like they're welcome here and they belong here, right? And just by greeting them and like me letting them know my name and maybe learning their name, like they already feel like maybe they're welcome to be here and they can feel comfortable looking around and that sort of thing, right? But the customer service thing, yeah, I think it matters more than ever. I think there's so few places left that are trying, I think, right? And that's really what it is, right? Like you may not like the style or the approach, and that's fine. And I'm not gonna harp on you for that. Like I I remember having to I was there for the days where you had to deliver some pretty horrible lines at GW when they actually were trying to police what you said and how you did it. It's a lot looser now, which is nice. So like I can completely relate. There were some pretty cringy kind of lines you have to say back in the day. But I think the gist is that like at least they're trying to help, and I think that's something, right? Like how many stores do you go into where you're like begging for someone to like even notice you're there? Like there's so many retail places you go, you're like, hello, I have one question. There's nobody around to answer, right? Like modern retail has turned into like the apocalypse where it's like there's the youngest part-timer person you've ever met in your life is running this giant store because they don't want to pay a second staff member to be there because retail is just, I don't know what, it's in shambles or whatever. And you got to be like Indiana Jones to find this person. And then most of the time you just give up and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm not asking this question. And then we have the opposite where like there's a store that's legitimately trying to engage with all the people that come in. And there's a lot of people that have a problem with that. And I get it. Like we all want what we want about our experience, but I think it's like harsh to be like, well, I shouldn't be like that. Because I think it just ignores the reality, right? Like as big as Games Workshop's gotten, they're still spending a ton of money on these Warhammer stores to exist, and they have to have these like plucky go get them experiences to make it worth it, right? They have to be recruiting new people, bringing new people into the hobby, because otherwise why have the Warhammer stores, right? Why not just sell more product at more independents like ourselves here and a lot of other shops out there, right? This gets to another point where it's sort of like, bleeding off the last one. There is a chance they could actually help you. I can't tell how many times I had that experience working at a workshop where there's sometimes just the assumption because you're the corporate guy, and you've got the shirt on and I'm wearing one of those corporate shirts today for some garbage company. That you're just like there to shill for the product and you're gonna just like be this like automatron robot. And yeah, like I mean to some degree that's completely true, right? Like to some degree if you're employed at a Bell store or like Virgin Mobile, whatever your company, your cell phone company is, you're gonna be selling that product, right? And you're not gonna be like, oh, I recommend this other place or whatever. And that's just like part of the business. But there's still within that context, within that greater scheme of like the Warhammer hobby and selling Warhammer things, there's still a lot of like place to be helped there, right? Like with your paint schemes, your projects. Sometimes it helps to just like, even if you're more knowledgeable than the employee that works there, it can be helpful just to like talk out loud to somebody and have them like listen to you and bounce things back at you and hear it out loud, right? I mean, like in my case, I've been doing the hobby for 30 years. There aren't too many people that come into my shop that you could reasonably say have an edge on me in the hobby, right? In terms of knowledge and experience and just like ability to do it and explain it. And I still have that adversarialness with people that come in because they for whatever, like I said, for whatever reason, not judging here. Some people are antisocial. Some people just want to come in and get the thing they want and leave. Totally understand it. But if you're going to be like a repeat person somewhere, get it out of the way. Introduce yourself. Tell the person you're like, man, I just like to come in and grab the thing I'm after. I'm not like looking for a long chat. It's like, yeah, no one's going to take offense to that, right? But like I said, there is a chance that the person can actually help you. It's possible. It is possible. There's some great people I know. I've still some friends that have been working at workshop for way too long, way too long, decades, you could say, and their product knowledge is stupid. Like the things they know about the hobby, the lore, painting, the background, all that stuff. It's just silly, you know. So there's no way that they're not going to be able to help people that come into the shop, right? And like I said, there's even someone who's new hire. They've probably still been doing the hobby for a while and that sort of thing, right? So give the person, I shouldn't say guy, even though it's like 98.9% men that do the job. Give the person a chance, and I think you might be surprised. And that leads me to my last point, which I think is the most important, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, is most of the people working in those shops are decent people. And they're worth getting to know. They're worth getting to know. And I obviously say that with a huge bias of running a hobby shop myself and having worked for workshop for a good chunk of period of time before this, and having known and met a lot of people that work there. I'm going to have a huge bias to say that. But, I still think it's true. And I think a lot of people that have been doing this hobby for a long time have great memories of a certain staff member they really liked, or person they met, or all these friendships they have through the hobby. I mean, like I said, it's not everyone's case, but there's great people that work at these shops. There's some really cool people. Usually they got hired because they have a good personality. They're friendly, quick on their feet, that sort of thing. That's usually why they get hired. It's a personality thing, right? And so they're usually pretty cool people. So worth getting to know. And I think if you're planning, if you're just popping into a Warhammer store once in a while and you just want to like kind of look around or whatever, I get the whole like you're not going to invest time into like getting to know the person, then getting to know you. But if you are, gonna be going there somewhat regularly, I just think like just lean into it a little bit. Just let them know a little bit about your hobby. Let them know a little bit about yourself. They're not going to ask you the same questions every time, right? They're not robots. They're people, right? They don't want to do that, right? Like, and I think if you kind of lean into it a little bit more and just like maybe go in with the idea that like maybe there's a cool person in there. Maybe there's a cool person in there that actually wants to help me. You might find that you have a slightly better experience. Like it's instead of going in with that negative almost got carried away there. Instead of going in there with your negative attitude, ready? Sound effect, guys. We're not even open yet, guys. Come on, keep the sound effect budget down. Going in there with your negative attitude and mentality of, I don't want to. This guy's gonna talk to me. It's almost like you're like in a mental negative space that of course you're going to have a bad experience. Now you've already built yourself into thinking you're going to have a bad experience, right? So I don't know. Sometimes it's just like how you kind of like set up your mind before you kind of get into these situations, I think. And I think if you're pre-programmed to think like, yeah, I don't like when people talk to me and I'm going to find them annoying and stuff, like that's probably going to be self-fulfilling, right? You're going to have that experience. But I think if you open yourself up to being like, oh, maybe that person in there is just doing their job and wants to help me and, might be a cool person and, is trying to give me some good customer service. Maybe you have an okay time. Maybe it's not so bad. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me about your good experiences, your bad experiences. I don't even have to tell you that. You're going to tell me anyways. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think and about this topic of people talking to you. Let me know too the independent stores you go to, because I know a lot of we're in garbage time almost here. It's almost 20 minutes in. A lot of independents take the complete polar opposite strategy, right? They're like, well, Warhammer stores are like that, and people tell me they don't like that, so I'm going to go the opposite. I'm just going to put stuff on the wall. I'm going to just kind of like go behind the till and kind of keep my head down or whatever and work away, and people will come in, I might grunt at them or whatever, and that's the kind of like, it's funny how like there's such huge differences, right, between the two experiences sometimes. And so let me know what your independents like. Do they actively chat Do they actively seek out conversation with you, or are they a bit more passive and they just like let you shop and let you come to them and ask questions? I'm curious to know. Always curious to know. So let me know. And thank you so much for watching. Jay might come back one day. Maybe. We'll see. You guys take care. Check out our Patreon, where you can get some more content there, a little bit more engagement with us. You can ask personal questions. We try to engage with people a little bit more personally on there, and we have some new stuff planned in the future on that as well. So thank you for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.